have one lesson in 3 minutes on the Trinity. And if you think that is like the Trinity as an analogy, you're super wrong. What does the Bible teach on the topic of the Trinity? It says 3 things very clearly: that there is one and only one God, for verses that teach that, see these. That God is 3 persons, for verses that teach that, see these. And that each person is fully and truly God. Most people assume that with the Father, but they don't always assume it with the Son and the Spirit like they should. For verses that teach that, see these. The essence of the Christian faith is the Trinity, and it's defined as that God is one being, one essence, one nature, one substance, whatever term you want to use, and that He is 3 persons. Now, what do we mean by substance and persons? By substance, we don't mean what we have a tendency to think of as substance today. We think of something out of which something is made. We think of like Play-Doh as a substance, and we can, mash it and make the weird spaghetti or make a dog or whatever. Or we think of milk as a substance that can make cheese or ice cream. That's not what we mean. When we say that God is one substance, we mean He is one individual being. That God and God alone is the only God. He is one. He has one mind. He has one will. There is a oneness there. When we say that God is 3 persons, by persons, we don't mean people, okay? Don't think of like 3 individual beings. That would not be a biblical way to think about it. By persons, we really mean what distinguishes the members of the Trinity from each other. So that sounds confusing. So a good way to ask the question is, what is it that makes the members of the Trinity different?
When Zach mentions the God is a substance, he's really using philosophy. He's not using the Bible. And when he says that the God is also 3 persons, and he says they're not people, well, why use the word persons then? So there is confusion here on the Trinity being one substance and 3 persons. This is all, it came with philosophy. And these philosophers who came up with the Trinity, these were the words that they used, and they borrowed them from Greek philosophy.
Them distinct. Well, it can't be their attributes. They have the same attributes. They're all equally strong. They're all equally eternal. They're all equally wise. It can't just be that the difference is nominal, that it's just in name only. That wouldn't be a real distinction. And it can't be that the distinction is merely functional. The Trinity is something that God is. It's actual. It's not just a job the members of the Trinity have. And so the essence of our faith is that God is one being and somehow 3 persons. The Father is eternally unbegotten, the Son is eternally begotten, and the Spirit eternally proceeds from the Father and the Son. Begotten there, by the way, doesn't mean made or created like what we think of if we begat a child. Rather, it has to do with His sonness in relation to the Father.
The presenter then contradicts himself because he starts teaching that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, they're all equal. But when he explains it exactly like the Roman Catholic Church, that the Son is eternally begotten and the Spirit eternally proceeds from the Father and the Son. That is the statements that you find in the Catholic creeds. But how can they be equal if the Son is eternally begotten? In other words, as long as He's begotten, He cannot be equal to the Father. And the Spirit proceeding, the word proceeding doesn't really mean anything. It just means that the Spirit of God came and from the Father and Son. But it doesn't say anything about, was He created? Was He begotten? What happened there? Was He always existing? It doesn't explain it. So the presenter has a problem with the 3 persons being equal and then them not being equal.
Zach, that sounds like a mystery. It's supposed to be. There's nothing that's like God. God alone is the creator. Everything else is creation. And so that's why no analogies work for God. God is unique. This should cause us to worship and love Him more.
The last thing that I want to say is that the presenter says His sonness in relation to the Father. His sonness in relation to the Father. What kind of an explanation is that? That doesn't even make sense. And then it says, if you don't understand it, it's because it's a mystery. Well, if it's a mystery, how come you came up with that? The sonness. The sonness. What in the world is that? So, no, I don't agree with this presentation of the Trinity because it's the same repetitious stuff that has always been used throughout the centuries. There's nothing new about this. And he noticed that he gave you scriptures, but the scriptures he did not explain, that they do not say anything about three persons. And they don't say nothing about God being co-equal and co-eternal, the persons being co-equal and co-eternal. Those are a lot of things that the Bible doesn't say, but they're trying to make you believe that by putting all these verses, there's a lot of proof. And the reality of everything is there's no proof in the Bible for a trinity of three co-equal, co-eternal persons.